Good evening. Dunedin police are making no headway on inquiries into last night's shooting in the city. They're still looking for a Hillman Hunter car seen leaving Bayview Road just after the shooting at about 9 o'clock last night. A 26-year-old woman was hit in the back by a shotgun fired from outside her house. She's in a serious but stable condition in Dunedin Hospital. Police believe the window was broken before the shot was fired. The woman's sister was also in the house at the time. As yet, police have not been able to speak to the woman. And an 18-year-old Polytechnic student charged with murder made a second appearance in the Dunedin District Court today. George Trounson, who's charged with murdering 17-year-old Russell Warren a week ago, was remanded in custody for a further fortnight when a date will be set for a depositions hearing. Searchers today found the body of a Temuka man missing from a fishing boat in Moeraki harbour. He's believed to have fallen off the boat late on Saturday night, possibly after suffering an epileptic fit, Kathy Graham reports.
The accident happened just after the fishing boat Te Rā had come in with the sick man. The crew unloaded and then went forward to secure the boat's moorings.
Well, we went to pick up the mooring and he was on the boat then, and Wayne and I got the mooring chain and went back and he was gone. He'd gone over the side while we were up the bear, and so didn't hear anything. He's got the motor going, and with the surge and that, you wouldn't hear a splash even.
The crew brought the boat in after the missing man had suffered several epileptic fits at sea. What was he like when you left him at the back of the boat?
Oh, he was quite good, because I'd asked him, I says, how are you feeling? And he said he was feeling great, so I thought, well, he'd be all right, because I'd kept him in the wheelhouse sort of all afternoon. Just for that reason, I didn't want him going over the side.
And the man's body was found by police searching the coastline today. A Dunedin man is aiming to transform the face of Saddle Hill between Mosgiel and the city. Les Cleveland has just sealed up 14 hectares of native bush on the hill under a Queen Elizabeth Trust covenant. And he has every intention of making it the start of something big. Michael Lynch explains.
The native bush might have been coming down in Western Southland, but near Dunedin it's been going in. This is a kahikatea, or white pine. Well over 100 years ago, trees like this covered the Taieri Plain, and if Les Cleveland has his way, kahikatea and other native species will be the money earners of a century ahead.
I maintain there should have been a lot of work done on producing native timbers in a silviculture form like we do with our other radiata and other exotic species. We should have been doing this 30, 40, 50 years ago. And then now we would have been starting to harvest some of that material instead of going into our native forest and clearing it to get some of it.
Les drew a good crowd on Saturday when Sir Peter Elworthy accepted the land on behalf of the Trust. Ultimately it'll be given to Dunedin City, but in the meantime Les has work to do. Using the natural scrub canopy, he's planting every possible sort of native on the hill to see which grows best in the south. Natives, he says, are the cash crop of the future. And his harsh words for short-sighted governments not doing similar things years ago.
The government must be the leading contender to make sure that they set the pattern and the climate for this to happen. And it can be followed by the regional and local governments. But it must come from the lead, and the climate of it must come from central government.
It's taken Les Cleveland 12 years to get his bush organised, and he's happy it'll see him out.
The most popular place in Dunedin at the weekend was the Green Island Tip. Staff weren't counting cars, but they estimated 1,500 came and went, taking advantage of the last day before charges were introduced at the tip. From now on, it costs $2 a visit for cars and station wagons and $3 a visit for traders, light vans and utilities. The Dunedin City Council says it'll be keeping an eye out for illegal rubbish dumping in other parts of the city, and it's reminding people that rubbish can be burned only in an incinerator and the smoke must not annoy the neighbours. Now a little bit of good news for anyone who's ever gone mad with frustration trying to telephone the Dunedin City Council offices. Delays in the phone system should soon be a thing of the past. A new system from a Swedish company has been approved, and the council claims it'll save up to $400,000 over 5 years. Otago Netball paid tribute to its most respected devotee this weekend at the union's 75th Jubilee celebrations. And no, it wasn't Lois Muir, who's seen as the guiding light these days. Lois, along with many others, were paying her respects to one of the game's founders in Otago, Miss Rena Mackenzie. Ken Nicholson reports.
It was fitting that the Jubilee banquet should see the two faces of Otago Netball, the present-day player in Janine Brown, and Miss Rena McKenzie. 6 decades separating them, cut the Jubilee cake as a highlight of the weekend. Having played almost every role in netball administration over the years, including 20 years as president, Miss McKenzie, as she's respectfully known to all, was lauded by those who have taken over her place in the game.
And of course, our very special lady, our patroness, Miss McKenzie. I believe Otago leads the way, and many of its women over the years have been great leading administrators in sport and in netball particularly.
One of the features that is significant about Otago is the very high level of administration that it has always had. As a very new delegate to the council meeting some 20 or odd years ago, I can remember with great admiration the contribution that Miss McKenzie made. And for many years I was privileged to hear her guiding New Zealand netball and umpires through their deliberations.
The Jubilee, of course, was full of memories of the earlier days of nine-a-side basketball as the game was then, and one of the real characters of Otago netball, Nany Whittleston, was right in her element.
I came from the Caversham and we had a teacher, Miss Foster, who fostered netball. She actually wrote the rule book for New Zealand. Her, Miss McKenzie and Mrs McCourtry, and that was where netball really started from.
The biggest change from the game that Nancy first started playing came in the late 50s, when a team was reduced from 9 players to 7.
2 or 3 of us oldies, we didn't like it because it was dropping 2 girls in a team. But then we had to think, well, if we're going to continue being interested, we've got to forget the 9-a-side game.
The Jubilee tournament brought many of the country's top players to Dunedin. National captain Waimarama Tamanu led a very strong Wellington side. Waikato, which included 4 players who have worn the silver fern, was led by national centre Sandra Edge. And Canterbury fronted up with the exciting New Zealand attacker April Eremaya and goalkeeper Sharon Burridge. So it was of real significance that Otago performed so well, particularly in the match against Waikato. 3 of the more experienced members, Nikki Hurd and Janine Brown, along with the lively Trudy Lawson, gave coach Georgina Salter a lot of heart for the coming Trust Bank tournament at the end of the season. And Southern Country had even more reason for smiles, thrashing every side of similar standing and then causing a real boil-over with an 8-goal win over First Division Otago. Wellington was unbeaten. The future of the game even pushed in. But like any Jubilee, those who had the biggest ball of all were the oldies.
And great weather for that weekend as well. Nice to have all the visitors here. That's our program for tonight. If there's nothing else you want to watch on television, look out for the Aurora Australis tonight. A spectacular display is promised. The Beverly Begg Observatory's told us the best time to have a look at it. Watch out around 9:30 at night. That's it from us. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night.